This would be a really fun series if this were one of those death battle style videos, but it's not. Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing well. I'm the Monio, the interdimensional demon who talks about To Your Eternity the most on YouTube, and you're on my channel. I recently watched both seasons of To Your Eternity, and I was able to find very interesting narrative parallels with Frieren, which is another anime I love. Both deal with the theme of immortality and time, but To Your Eternity takes an even more interesting approach in my opinion, in addition to dealing with subjects such as death, life, transformation, and how much our memories define who we are. But let's take it one step at a time. An entity creates an immortal living being in the form of a sphere, with the function of preserving the world. The sphere evolves and becomes a more complex being as it receives stimuli, and gradually gains consciousness and questions its role in the world, as its friends die, and we have our story. A very interesting parallel that can be drawn between Frieren and To Your Eternity is the first episode. Both begin in an unusual way and end with an emotional catharsis, which is the death of important characters who will be very significant in the story. This beginning is actually very similar narratively. But the Monio, what is the point of comparing two different works that never had the purpose of being similar? Well, I think this analysis is very interesting, since both address some similar themes, but in very different ways. And we can say that both work very well with the emotional aspects of the story, with scenes that have the potential to make you shed a tear. However, while Frieren works with the concept of eternity through the protagonist's reflection and personal dilemmas, and how the character changes her perspective regarding the passage of time and enjoying the moments, To Your Eternity works with the concept of eternity through the protagonist's own immortality. And although the passage of time is not the focus of To Your Eternity, the manga and anime manage to work very well with a very interesting concept, which I had never seen in any other work, which is that of the protagonist, in a way, absorbing the essence of the people who died, with whom he had some emotional connection, through memories, and eventually acquiring the form of that individual as one of his receptacles. There are many layers of interpretation in this concept, the people we love eventually becoming part of us when their lives end, the affirmation of the existence of beings through the memories we have of them, the parallel between immortality and the emotional bond we make with someone while they are alive, and many other things. The anime even addresses the cycles of existence and reincarnation, showing how these processes work, and how they relate to the protagonist Fushi as he creates more bonds with more people. But despite the occasional pragmatic explanations about concepts related to life and death, many things that are important to the protagonist and even to the narrative do not have a direct or simple answer, such as the identity of Fushi's creator, the purpose of his creation, why he is dying, and why he wants Fushi to eventually replace him. All these doubts we have are also doubts of the protagonist, and because they are very complex doubts, involving the living beings of this world, the story manages to work with questions about existentialism, purpose, and the finiteness of human life. Another point that I find interesting is that, unlike Frieren, which oscillates between moments of contemplation of small things and grandiose moments, To Your Eternity does not go to either extreme. There are few moments that we can consider contemplative, in which the characters stop to admire or reflect on something deeply, and there are no moments that the direction of the anime treats as grandiose. The characters are always doing functional things, with the purpose of living their lives. This can be seen mainly in Fushi, in which a good part of his journey, especially in the first season, is one of learning. He's receiving increasingly complex stimuli and is learning all the time. And in the midst of so much learning, there is not much space to contemplate the moments, we only have the moments. And this is a curious approach, especially if you consider that it is an anime that addresses so many reflective themes, and this reflection is not shown on screen, it is done only by the viewer himself. Another thing that is approached into your eternity in a very different way from Frieren is the way the story uses the protagonist. While Frieren has a lot of experience and is rarely fooled, Fushi is still in a constant process of development and maturation, and for most of the story, he is an essentially innocent character who finds it easy to trust people, and is eventually fooled by them. Another very interesting concept into your eternity is the expansion of consciousness. Everything that Fushi creates becomes a kind of extension of himself, making him feel that he has a perception of everything that happens in the environment he created. This brings a very great perception of sensations to the protagonist, making him feel people's feelings, in addition to being able to easily recreate everything that was destroyed. Perhaps this is a clue to the purpose of Fushi's creation, since his creator says in the first season that Fushi will preserve the world, and at another point, he says that when Fushi manages to recreate the entire ocean, his task will be accomplished. One detail that I find very curious is that, up until now, the name of the man in the black cape, the entity that created Fushi, has not been revealed. It is at least reasonable to think that he has a proper name, since despite being an entity, he is a being with a finite life that will eventually die. However, he does not introduce himself by name at any time, and this is also not questioned by Fushi or by other characters who have already managed to see him. However, in the second season we can see that he stops communicating directly with Fushi's mind, without moving his mouth, and starts to speak to him literally with words. This is probably a detail that shows that the relationship between the two has become much more personal, going beyond the simple relationship of creator and creature. Unlike Frieren, which has a clear objective, Into Your Eternity the idea of uncertainty is much more worked on, that not even Fushi himself knows his objective or what will happen, or even the objective of his creator, and this doubt of knowing which direction the story will take makes the experience even cooler. One of my biggest doubts at the end of the second season of To Your Eternity was whether the anime would end there or if we would have more seasons. The most interesting thing is that although some things were left unexplained, if this were the definitive ending, it would be satisfactory. However, at the end of the last episode, we have the information that the third season has already been confirmed, and if you are watching this video in the future, it may be that the third season has already premiered. To Your Eternity is the kind of work that, like Frieren, is extremely different, and that makes you engaged just by speculating about the outcome of the story, and the way Fushi's story mixes with the story of people's lives and humanity makes you even more curious. For those who saw the end of the second season, you know that the story advanced to modern times, and that Fushi apparently got rid of all his vessels, reviving even the boy who was his first human form, and this makes me think that the story will change completely. Maybe Fushi revives everyone he knew in this new world, maybe the man in black dies and Fushi uses him as a vessel, maybe Fushi becomes the planet itself. There are so many possibilities from a creative point of view that I am extremely anxious for the third season. Well, I sincerely hope that I haven't irritated To Your Eternity and Frieren fans too much with this video, since the idea of the video is not to belittle the works, but to draw parallels to highlight how each one stands out. I love Frieren, it's one of my favorite animes ever and I hope to see more seasons soon. But what about you? Are you a fan of both animes? Which one is your favorite? Leave it in the comments, and if you like the content, subscribe to see the next videos. Until next time my people, demonic hugs.